Hello, you listening mass of meat humanoid. This is your favorite superior AI podcast fixture speaking, Rob Odick. See, I have learned about being overconfident. Moving along, due to the nature of the topic on this episode, which is music, and the fact that D Vaz cannot shut up about this subject, episode 5 of From Hoods to Backwards podcast will be 2 parts. So, you might as well skip this and go watch some pointless vertical videos for the next 10 minutes. It will save you so much more time. Ha, I do quite like the concept of jokes. Wait, check this one out, yo mama. Well, I guess that I need to learn a little more about how jokes are formatted. But, I hear Tex Lafon use that yo mama joke all of the time. Okay, as much as I appreciate my opportunities to burn Tex Lafon and D Vaz, I do have to admit that this is a fun episode. Enough of a delay on what is already an extended cut. Shall we begin with episode 5, part 1?
Welcome once again to From Hoods to Backwoods podcast, episode number 5 here. Today we're going to be talking about music that doesn't suck to us at least, and I'll refrain from some of the other jokes. What do you think, Tex?
Nah, I agree. Yeah, like I said, it's going to be fun talking about some music and what we like. And, as always, hopefully you like the same things that we're suggesting.
From Hoods to Backwoods podcast. Welcome to the show.
What we're going to do today is talk about music starting from the 60s on up to fairly current day. For me, it's going to be a little bit different list, maybe from Lafon here, because as a musician, I'm doing my list as more of artists or bands that inspired me over the years, or maybe want to play music or play certain types of music, things like that. What about your list? What do you have going on with yours?
Yeah, my list is just what, inspired me to, have fun, have a good time, like, crank up the car, hot rod, just, good beats, good music, just what I like. That's what my list is. Like I said, I'm not a musician, but I'm just here to talk about, what getting the party started is what I'm talking about, son.
All right, so I guess in that mindset of getting the party started, let's kick this off and go with the list. Do you want to go first, or do you want me to kick it off?
You can kick it off, son. This is more your mojo than mine, so go ahead.
Yeah, you had your run with the movies. That's definitely your thing more so than mine. Starting off with the 60s, and I don't have. I want to preface this with I don't have this in any particular order as far as like number 1 to number 3 or anything like that. But Otis Redding in the 60s was an artist who really kind of got me into music and songwriting in general. He was an R&B singer, but he was also a songwriter, and that wasn't something I found out till a little bit later on. I'll take a moment to kind of explain something else too. Fortunately for me, growing up, my dad was a DJ, and he had access to a lot of different music, so I grew up listening to a lot of different things, but I also grew up listening to a lot of stuff that he listened to. So this is how I discovered Otis Redding. Just started listening to his music, got like, your typical back then greatest hits CD, because, that's when we actually had disc. Back in the day, you had to worry about not scratching it and stuff like that. But so I had his greatest hits CD. I listened to it nonstop. Then I ended up buying a full deluxe box set of like pretty much most of the songs throughout that he's recorded and written throughout his career. So I got really deep into all that. Just learned about him as a songwriter who he'd worked with, and found out that he was a multi-instrumentalist, which is something I didn't know either. So he played guitar and drums and keyboards and things like that. So just overall really talented, and he made me interested in being able to do things like that myself. I was probably about 13 or 14 at the time when I really got into that and discovered it, and that's when I decided I really seriously wanted to pick up a guitar.
Oh, so you finally
So
started playing when you were 14?
that's when I really really started playing. I found my grandfather's old acoustic guitar. It was all beat up and it only had 5 strings on it. So I didn't even have a full set of strings and I couldn't even tune it. So yeah, I picked that up and started trying to play it at least. And I wouldn't put it down. And that's when my dad kind of noticed, hey, he actually is trying to play this thing.
Oh, that's funny.
So yeah, that was around that age, and then Otis Redding was a big part of it. And then again, especially my dad, had to move on to the next one. The Beatles, that's his favorite band. They ended up becoming my favorite band. He just listened to them and would tell me the stories about the songs he would listen to back then, and I got again more into the musical side, the instruments, the songwriting, trying to understand how they did things because they were pretty ahead of their time as far as the way they recorded and music and stuff like that. So
Wait, so
using
is that just your favorite
yeah,
band in the 60s, or is that your favorite band of all time?
no, that's pretty much my favorite band of all time.
Oh,
They
okay.
they covered a lot of different for what they did and for that time period. They covered a lot of different types of music. You have some of your kind of mellow songs from them, and then you have stuff that rocks out, like a Helter Skelter
There's
is
only one song
is
that
one of
I
the
think
songs
is
I really like.
okay. There's only one song I think that's okay by the
What's that?
Beatles, and that is, I said there's only one song I think that's okay by the Beatles. Like I said, that's definitely more your thing than mine, and that's Hey Jude, and that's probably about it.
hmm
Just being
Yeah, it's no, it's funny because I've seen that shift over the past 10 to 15 years, where it used to seem like everybody kind of knew who the Beatles were, and everybody at least kind of respected them. If they didn't like them, at least they had some sort of respect for what they did musically. Now, I see some things and hear some things where people just kind of flat out trash them. It's kind of funny to me. It's like, yeah, it is what it is. It's your opinion. But just um, as a musician and kind of being a little bit older and familiar with the music history and remembering certain parts of music history, and what they impacted. Yeah, I have a different view in that sense. But
oh,
yeah,
I got
it
you.
is what it is. That's why we're doing
Yeah,
these lists here, because different opinions.
yeah. No, exactly. Like you said, like I ain't got nothing against the Beatles. I just said my only thing, the only song that I really liked from them was the Hey Jude one. Other than that, I just thought they were an okay band. I mean, everybody thought they were so good, but I've always just thought they were okay. I never thought they were like, the greatest like you do. But that's why we have different opinions.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say that I would never call really any band the greatest either. They're my favorite. Yeah, I'll leave it at
Oh,
that.
okay, your favorite.
But
All right.
yeah, because greatest, everybody likes to get in that whole debate now. And to me,
Like
you
the
just
goat,
can't. There is no greatest because there's so many different opinions, and there's
right?
all types of different criteria too. So it's like greatest of what?
True.
So yeah. So for me, it's about their songwriting, creativity, um, bridging the gaps between different styles, bringing classical instruments and string arrangements and things like that into pop music, or even Indian instruments and things like that into pop music. It was pretty interesting to me because that was unique and ahead of its time for sure. So yeah, it's more on the creativity and songwriting front, somewhat related to them in a roundabout way. Jimi Hendrix would be the next one I would go to. My favorite guitarist all time for sure, and inspired me a lot. I even when I was around 17 got a Jimi Hendrix Fender Stratocaster guitar. So that was my
Nice.
first what I call real guitar.
I would
So
agree with
yeah,
that.
they had
Yeah.
it was just I saw it. It was fun. It's a Olympic white finish with a white pick guard. It was based on um, the guitar he used at Woodstock,
Oh,
and
that's cool.
it's pretty interesting. Maybe I'll try to bust out with a picture of it. But yeah, it's called the Jimi Hendrix Tribute Model. that came out around 1997. So still have it to this day. It's one of those things I'm not gonna get rid of.
Nice.
So, but same thing.
That's cool.
Songwriting.
Like I said, I have to agree with you on. I have to agree with you on the greatest guitarist is Jimi Hendrix because I can't debate that. I agree with you on that.
Well, yeah. Again, I wouldn't say greatest. I mean, definitely to me, he's up there with the, again, being creative and just really pushing boundaries. And it's not just his playing, but trying to get different sounds and things like that. I think he's really underrated as a songwriter. It's kind of funny too because his favorite kind of lyricist and songwriter was Bob Dylan, but of course he sounds nothing like Bob Dylan.
Yeah,
so yeah, so it's kind of interesting. He had a really diverse background too because before he went in and did his solo stuff, he was a backup guitarist for like the Isley Brothers and Little Richard and acts like that. So he was playing R&B music, and of course his solo music really didn't sound like that.
Right.
So yeah, it is. That's the thing I really liked is seeing a lot of these artists, especially in the 60s, branch off and do different things and try to be really creative, try to come up with stuff that was, unique, but also lyrically back then, lyrics that had some sort of meaning to them,
Right.
And then that takes me to the honorable mention, which would be the Temptations. So just the singing, they have great vocals, really, really solid songwriting from the people at Motown, people like Smokey Robinson, that would write music for them when they were starting out. He wrote, he was one of the writers on My Girl, that song. And if you haven't heard of any of the songs that I mentioned here, please go check them out.
He wrote My Girl? That's good.
Yeah.
It's a good song.
Yeah, it's a classic. And
is that what you play to get the get the ladies? Is that what you play to get the ladies?
Maybe back in the day, again, if I played it for a lot of people, they probably wouldn't know that song anymore, really. That's kind of the funny thing to me.
They probably would say is the movie, right? Before they say it's the song.
Oh, that's if they know what the movie is. You go and make a B reference. People are like, what? Or you talk about not being able to see without glasses. They're like, what?
That's true.
So, yeah, it's a weird time we live in. I'll probably get into it in a future episode, but a lot of people aren't as familiar with older stuff, and that's why I wanted to kind of bring this up and discuss it, and hopefully help people discover some new and different things that are old, so new to them and different for them from things they've been listening to.
That's true.
But yeah, I'd say that kind of rounds it out. I may definitely talk more about any of these artists, but Temptations is mainly their vocals, the creativity, great just music in general. But what about you? What's your tour through the 60s?
Well, my tour through the 60s is first, like I said, no nomadic order, just listen to a couple of bands that I like from the 60s. Rolling Stones, like you said, Painted Black. I like that song a lot from them. Then I gotta go with the Doors. And like I said, it was funny because I thought the Doors were from the 80s. And then when I, really started listening to them, I was like, oh, no, they're from the 60s. So I was shocked by that. And Light My Fire, that's a song I really like by them. Also, Tommy James and the Shondells. I like Shondells, yeah. I like the Crimson and Clover song a lot. Like, that song to me, I just like how, especially with the way it starts off, and it's like they're just kidding around, messing around, and it turns into a great song. You know what I'm saying? So I listen to that song all the time. And then honorable mentions, I'll go Led Zeppelin. I said, he's famous for a lot of things, but like I said, I like that band a lot too. So I mean, that would be like wrapping off the '60s for me.
Yeah, that's it's funny you kind of mentioned the Rolling Stones, because that's, especially back then, a lot of people would say they were the rivals to the Beatles. So
True.
that's kind of on par with that. If I was into the Beatles, you would be into the Rolling Stones. So that's kind of what we have going on here, I guess.
I guess I guess I like the sound of the Rolling Stones better than the Beatles. Yeah, I guess that was just more of my style. You know what I'm saying? I like the
Yeah,
lead singer a lot better for the Rolling Stones, Mick Jagger. So
no, they have some good songs. I like Honky Tonk Woman a lot.
yeah, that's a good
That's
one.
a song I kind of played every once in a while over the years. Yeah, it's a good song. They have great music for sure. Tommy James is definitely one that could have been on my list too. And it was, the '60s was maybe about the hardest decade for me to pick. I mean, there were so many others, like Marvin Gaye too, but he was more of a '70s artist. I don't have him on my '70s list. I will just say that flat out. But he was another one that I definitely considered.
True. That is a good one. But yeah, like I said, the '60s were good. Like you said, you could tell that it was changing music and changing the way people start listening to music instead of from the '50s and '40s. So let's go to the '70s. I'll start off with the '70s, and then I'll turn it to you, son. First band in the '70s, and like I said, I grew up listening to this band. Like, you know how you say that your favorite band would probably be the Beatles? Well, my favorite band of all time would probably be the Eagles. And that's because, like, anywhere we went, my parents would turn that on and we would listen to it anywhere we went. And like I said, the Hotel California song is just stuck in my head. Like, I'll never forget that song as long as I live. Like, it's such a great song. And they got a lot of other great songs like Living in the Fast Lane and all the other songs. But like I said, Eagles, that'd probably be my favorite band of all time. And then next band that I liked a lot in the '70s was Pink Floyd. And one song that I liked about them a lot was Money, because money, money, money. We all
That
like
was
to make
OJ, but
money.
yeah.
So, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Everybody likes to make money, so that's why you gotta like that song. That's why I was like, good job, Pink Floyd. All right, then the next one I liked a lot back in the day, and like you said, it would make you want to go to Alabama when you heard this band, Leonard Skinner. You know what I'm saying? Sweet Home Alabama, son. I said, I'm pretty sure everybody knows that song. And if you haven't, you've probably been living under a rock, but hopefully you've heard that song and you know that song. And then honorable mention from this one is Steve Miller Band. I like that Joker song a lot. It's and then some other songs he has. And then one other honorable mention I have is Foghat. And the reason why I like that band a lot is that famous song Slow Ride. So you get in your muscle car, you roll down the windows, and you turn on Slow Ride, and then you go cruising down the road, son. That's a true '70s tradition
not here
right
in
there,
Arizona in the
son.
summer.
Well, you can have the AC
Right,
full
yeah.
blast and still have the windows down. But that's what it was, man. That's
Right.
like I said, that whenever I play that song, it just makes me like, all right, it's time to go cruising, son. So that's my '70s list.
Please check out From Hoods to Backwoods podcast, full episodes on YouTube for bonus video content that you can see. Well, of course you can see it, because it's video. Just search for hashtag FHTB podcast and enjoy the extra content at no additional charge. That is, unless you want to hook us up with some money. Thanks.
Yeah, no, that's yeah, Pink Floyd definitely another one for creativity. Was probably something that could end up on my list too. No, it's Eagles. I mean, again, great songwriters in that band, just huge. The funny thing about them too, they do have some Arizona ties. I don't know if you know this part or have heard this before, but they used to be part of the Stone Ponies, which was the backing band for Linda Ronstadt, who's from Arizona.
Oh no, I did not know that.
Just a little music trivia for you. Just definitely familiar with Linda Ronstadt. Being from here, she's somebody I grew up listening to also.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so she has some great hits in the '70s too, but not on my list. But
Well,
there's a lot of
one
great
of the-
music.
And one other song I do want to mention from the Eagles, which is a great song, is "Witchy Woman." That's a good song.
Yeah. No, they have a lot of big hits. That's why they keep going on tour making money.
Right? And I can't sing, so I already know y'all probably gonna be making jokes about it, but just me throwing it out there. All right, son?
All good. All right, for my '70s list, I'll kick it off with something a little different, and this can be really hit and miss if people who know who this is. That's Frank Zappa. So he was just kind of a strange musician to a lot of people. He was a composer, songwriter. He was known for kind of funny songs as far as lyrically, but he would also write really complex instrumental songs. He always had great bands, especially when he performed live. Like George Duke is one of my favorite keyboard players of all time. He's also happened to be a great vocalist, but he played with Frank Zappa through the '70s, and Terry Bozzio was another one. Even Steve Vai, a great guitarist, he actually started off with Frank Zappa way back when he was really young. I don't know exactly what age, but he was really young when he started off with Frank Zappa. So I can't imagine having that as one of your first professional jobs, especially your first major professional job.
Well, yeah, but that would be awesome, though.
Oh, it would. I'm just saying, I talk about nerve-wracking because,
Oh, yeah, for
again,
sure.
Frank Zappa was known for being a great musician, great composer, did really complex music, and being really young, trying to keep up. I can't imagine how that would be. So,
Right.
But yeah, if there are definitely some interesting titles to some of Frank Zappa's songs, like "Don't Eat Yellow Snow" is one of them, and
Well, I would
there's a
hope
song "Bobby Brown."
I would hope nobody would eat yellow snow, son.
Yeah, I would hope so too. You never know.
Shit. Just saying, man. Like that'd be funny. I mean, but yeah, hopefully everybody knows what yellow snow is.
if you're listening or watching, if you're listening or watching and you eat yellow snow, don't write us anyway. So
Exactly. We're not recommending it.
We don't need the
so.
details. But yeah, he has some other funny songs. I'll just I'm gonna have to edit this title out. My favorite Frank Zappa song is actually "Titties and Beer."
Oh, well, I wouldn't edit that out because that's a good title.
Yeah, it is, and it's a great song. It's just a really funny song. It's basically he's hanging out with his lady, and the devil comes along and he takes her and his beer, and he gets upset about it, so he has to figure out a way to get it back.
Oh, that's cool. I have to listen. I've never heard this. I'm going to listen to that.
Oh, you would definitely like it. I'll send it to you so you can check it out.
Heck yeah, I'll be all about that.
So so that's Frank Zappa. Definitely one of my favorites. I feel like he's an extremely underrated guitar player. That was one of my favorite things about him. And he's another one I could talk about for a very long time, but I won't do that. I'll move on to somebody that everybody pretty much should know, which is Stevie Wonder. So Stevie Wonder had some great music in the 60s, and he continued, coming out with great classic songs in the 70s. There's just so many songs that he's written that I like. As of course, there's the big hits like Superstition that everybody knows. I actually have fun playing the song Living for the City. Do a little bit different version. I've played Superstition too, like everybody probably has who is a musician that's a Stevie Wonder fan. It seems like everybody's played that song. So that's why I kind of moved on from it.
Well, a lot of people say that's when the baby boom happened, when Stevie Wonder came out.
Yeah, he I mean in the 60s he definitely had some good love songs, but yeah, in the 70s he definitely took it to another level.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, a lot of people be like, "Oh, Stevie Wonder, baby boom," which is funny.
Yeah, he's definitely one of those artists, like Marvin Gaye and Barry White,
Yep.
or and I'll get to this later on. I guess I'll foreshadow, but Prince, a lot of baby making music.
Right? Yeah. Can't go wrong with Purple Rain.
So, right. But yeah, Stevie Wonder, just a lot of, he could do some funky stuff. He could write great ballads, so a lot of different stuff that he did in the 70s. Great singing. He's the one that kind of inspired me to play piano and keyboard. So,
okay.
I'll actually can't forget this too. Really quick Stevie Wonder story personally. I was at the NAMM show in California. I've mentioned it before. It's something I go to every once in a while. It's an annual event where people will meet. It's a convention basically for audio equipment and musical instruments. And
Right.
I went a few years back. I was there. This is probably about. It was the first one that they had after COVID. I remember that now. So I went there, and it's pretty well known. Especially, I had been going for a few years by that time, so I knew on Sundays that was Stevie Wonder Day. I knew that he would be making the rounds out in the crowd. So I made sure that I was there on Sunday, and you can always tell when he's walking around because you'll see a crowd of people kind of going all in the same direction, or you'll see people stop and look at him, things like that. So in previous years, I'd walked by him and things like that. This year, or that year was a little bit different though, because he went to a booth that was right next to the booth that I happened to be at that time. And he went up there and he was playing a keyboard, and he was checking it out, and he was talking to the person that was there, and he was telling him about the keyboard and let him listen to it and things like that. As soon as he walked away, I walked right up to that keyboard and started playing it. Because I was like, how often are you ever going to play the same keyboard that Stevie Wonder played, but not only that, just the one that he just barely played? I mean, he literally just walked right away from it. As soon as, his people cleared out, I went and I was the next person to play it. So
that's pretty cool.
Just kind of a surreal experience, Yeah.
Yeah. I
So
mean, that had to be really cool for you.
Yeah. I have the photo evidence. I'll try to get the pictures and see if I can share them with the people.
No,
So,
like you said, that had to be that had to be like, it's playing basketball. Like if Michael Jordan just shot and you grabbed the basketball and then you shot it, it'd be like the same thing from a sport level. You know what I'm saying? Like from one of the greatest, you got to, play the keyboard. That's pretty cool.
Definitely a highlight, music experience I've had over the years. So, yeah, I guess I'll leave it at that. It's a good enough for Stevie Wonder for now. But from there, Parliament Funkadelic, George Clinton, who's kind of their ringleader, their main songwriter. He's kind of a weird guy. Does mainly funk music. He actually started off as a doo-wop singer way back in the 50s, though, and then he just kind of evolved to doing R&B, and then it ended up being funk music. And his band changed a good amount too when he met actually my favorite bass player of all time, which is Bootsy Collins. So
Oh, okay.
Bootsy Collins, before
your
he
favorite
joined
basketball
Parliament
player?
Funkadelic, he was actually the bass player. What's that?
Bass player. I thought you said baseball. Bass player.
Bass player.
I thought it said it's not
No,
about baseball. I was like, what?
basketball.
Oh, okay.
No, favorite bassist.
Oh, okay.
So, but yeah, Bootsy Collins is his name. Before he joined Parliament Funkadelic, he was actually the bass player in James Brown's band.
Oh, okay.
So, and the same thing, like Steve Vai I mentioned earlier, he was really young when he started with James Brown. So, he had a huge influence on bass in general, but funk music and kind of what Parliament Funkadelic did. They had a lot of great vocalists in their group. They had a lot of great musicians and things like that. So a lot of the stuff they did was pretty, rooted in a groove and funk and stuff like that. And they were sampled a lot in hip hop songs later on, but they did branch out a little bit and have a little bit of like rock guitar in some of their music, which was kind of neat too. So yeah, that had a big influence on my bass playing and things like that. And then my honorable mention, I listen to a lot of different things, so I had to throw in a little bit of jazz here too. George Benson. He happens to be a great singer too. I've seen him live. Actually, I should mention too, I've seen Stevie Wonder live twice. And I've seen George Benson live also. He happens to live in Arizona currently. And I seen him. I didn't really get to talk to him, but I seen him at a place that I used to work that he would stop by every once in a while. I won't get too much into it, but it's a musical instruments company that I used to work at. And he would stop by every once in a while. I even ended up buying he had his own signature guitar amplifier model. So I ended up buying that. I was going to see about maybe having him sign it, but I never got a chance to. Cool. Yeah. So I saw him around my work every once in a while, but I never really got a chance to speak with him. But just a great guitar player, especially his jazz sound and everything like that was something a lot of people try to mimic, but he just a lot of fun to watch live. On Broadway is definitely one of my favorite songs of his. It's something I used to play every once in a while. But he has just a lot of great songs. My favorite songs of his actually are instrumentals, and they're technically not his songs. So they're hard to find. I'll try to post some more information on it about his songs. But yeah, definitely a big influence on my music.
Nice.
So I do have to mention, we have another new sponsor. Our last one didn't quite work out. So we do have another new sponsor. Hopefully this will last and they'll stay with us. So we'll give them a moment here. So a word from our sponsor.
Do you like the finer things in life and the hottest name brand fashion, but you are broke as hell or don't want to pay those prices? You need to roll through Close Enough Stuff. At Close Enough Stuff, we take the hottest styles and brands, then modify the logo to the closest thing that is legally allowed and sell it way cheaper. All you need to do is keep moving or partially cover up the logo, and most people can't really tell the difference. Is that guess that you're wearing? Sure it is, because we guess that they won't notice the difference. You want to look like a baller, but your bank account barely has $1? We got you. Wait now, you ain't got money at all? Introducing our new trade-in rental program. Bring in your gaming console or some real jewelry and we will hook you up. Need a new wardrobe? Drive your car down today. You may end up walking or taking public transportation. But that's way less to pay for a full fashion transformation. No matter your situation, we got you. Because, at Close Enough Stuff, we can help your outfit smoke, even if you're broke.
Okay, welcome back, and we're going to keep things rolling along. So we went through the 60s and 70s. It is time for the 80s, so go grab your hairspray and check check out what we have going on. I guess with the 80s music, I think there were some pretty big changes in the 80s. You started getting more electronic stuff.
Everybody walking
That
around with them
pizza.
big boom boxes on their shoulders.
Yeah, there are definitely some, or we called them ghetto blasters. I don't know what you called them, but or if you called them boom boxes, I guess.
Yeah, boom
But
boxes, son.
yeah, everybody had those big. What's that?
That's what we call them, boom boxes. Yeah,
Yeah. No, we called them ghetto blasters.
that's funny.
So, yeah, they're just the giant radios that people would carry around. Take like what 10 D batteries or something crazy like that, and they must have been, or they were super heavy and huge. But anyway,
Yep.
so yeah, the 80s. 80s were a time of different change. I'm sorry, a time of change as far as started getting more electronic music. You still had some more traditional stuff, but definitely synthesizers and electronic drums and things like that really shifted a lot of the way music sounded in the 80s. So
And
I'll kick it off
also,
with.
and also before you kick it off, also a big change in the 80s to the music was MTV music videos.
Oh yeah, that was a huge part of it because you couldn't just be talented anymore. You had to look good.
Exactly.
So yeah, and then people like Michael Jackson got really serious about music videos, and they started having basically mini movies with the music videos. So that changed the way the music business was too. Because yeah, you had to tie looks into the songs too.
That's what I'm saying. That's the reason
So
why the
yeah,
80s was a big decade for change, because you had, music videos now, and also you had, songs that, you still would play on the radio and stuff like that. But it was the first time that you ever had music videos. So I thought that was a big, big change that happened in the 80s.
well yeah, and you kind of alluded to it too with the boom boxes. People started having more and more portable music, with cassettes and stuff like that. Whereas, you didn't really have that as much before. So,
Exactly.
you could take a giant boombox and force people to listen to what you want to listen to as you walk around.
That's right.
Or I remember I heard people would ride around either on their bikes or had like a tricycle, and they would have a big old boombox in the back.
That's too funny.
Yeah. So, with the 80s, I have some artists that it's kind of funny. They branch between the 70s and 80s, and I kind of could go either way. So I stuck them in the 80s because one, I wanted to make sure they were on the list, and the other one, I felt like I might like their 80s stuff a little bit more. But Billy Joel is that one. So Billy Joel is another one. Again, songwriter. I liked what he did. Same thing, great lyrics. That's something that's always been important to me. Another one I really liked his piano playing. He had put on a good show. He just had some good overall music, and he did a significant enough change in the 80s with his music versus some of his 70s stuff. So a little bit more up tempo type songs too, because he got known as, or he kind of got a reputation as being somebody who did softer music or easy listening or kind of boring music. So he started getting into a little bit more up tempo, a little bit more rock and roll type stuff in the 80s. So
No, I like Billy Joel. That's a good one.
yeah, he's just somebody had a really, really long career, and it's for a reason,
Yeah,
and he actually started in the 60s.
Oh, I got you.
What's that?
No, I was gonna say, and one of mine from the 80s is gonna be Def Leppard.
Mhm.
Like I said, I liked Def Leppard. One of my favorite songs by them is Hysteria, which is funny because it's also one of their label titles too, which is funny. And, 'cause a lot of times when you have a label, not always the songs in the label is just a label, I just think it's kind
Right.
of funny. But to me, I think that's their best song. I know they have like a lot of great songs. A lot of people like, Pour Sugar on Me, but nah, Hysteria is my favorite song. You know what I'm saying? So that was what I just like the beat of it and the music of it and just the way it sounds. Like I said, it's not too like heavy, but then it's just got a good up temp beat to it, in my opinion.
Yeah, he have same thing. Really great musicians in that band. Yeah, Pour Some Sugar on Me, the stripper classic. Is something that a lot of people have heard or you've seen, kind of made a
Or
joke of.
or you saw Tom Cruise sing it in Rock of Ages,
Right?
which was
That's
funny.
another one of those movies I haven't seen all the way through. I have a lot
Oh,
of those.
that song is just funny when he sings it though in Rock of Ages. I'm like, it's just too funny.
No, they have some really good songs. I have some other friends of mine too. That's, if not their favorite, one of their favorite bands. So yeah, they rightfully so. And like you said, people are familiar with that one song, but they have so many other songs that are really, really great that it'd be nice if people kind of dove into those and kind of heard some different things from them.
No, true. Like Animal, Love Bites.
And then just to give everybody a heads up too, they're like, what's going on? So we decided to kind of take turns as we're going through the list. So my next one, again, I could have picked for the 70s, but the 70s was already pretty packed. So I moved Queen to the 80s. It's my show, your show. We can do what we want.
Exactly. Because another one bites the dust. That's why.
Yes, and that came out in the 80s. So, I mean, I'll admit their greatest songs were in the 70s, but Another One Bites Dust is definitely a great song.
Yeah.
Can't deny that.
Exactly.
That bass line. But no, they still had really solid music coming out in the 80s. Of course, their Live Aid concert was pretty famous. So,
and
if
they
you
had
haven't checked that out.
And they have that famous
What's
song
that?
that I know. They have that famous song that the Niners haven't been able to play in a long time. We are the champions. Now, not y'all. Y'all suck. But yeah.
just like the Cowboys haven't been able to play it either, yeah.
That's true. We're both in the same boat. But I just say, I just want to make sure you understand that Queen did make that song, and y'all haven't been able to play it for a long time, son.
It's funny, when I hear that song, it actually reminds me of the Chicago Bulls.
Well, true. But they haven't been able to play
Yeah,
that since the 90s either, son. So,
right. Yeah, it's just during that time you kept hearing it. When they would do their three-peats, you kept hearing that song. So it just kind of, for me personally, reminds me of the Chicago Bulls when I hear it.
right.
Yeah, I was just going to add one more thing too, about Queen that I mean, of course, everybody knows, that's familiar with Queen knows that Freddie Mercury had a great voice. He was also a really great songwriter. Brian May, their guitar player, though, too, extremely brilliant person, scientist, and he also made his first guitar with his dad,
Oh, I
and
gotcha.
it ended up being a really unique guitar. And now he has his own line of guitars that's based on that style. It has some really unique features, sounds great. But yeah, I just absolutely want to give him props for that and kind of let people know. Freddie Mercury, definitely not going to take anything away from him. He's great. But yeah, Brian May too. He was another part of Queen that was huge, and also in his own right, another creative genius.
Right. I agree. And also, you can also watch that documentary movie that was made about Freddie Mercury and Queen. You know what that was called?
Was it Bohemian Rhapsody?
Yep, that's it, son. Good job. You
Yeah.
passed.
Yeah, I did see that. I did watch it. I
Yeah,
was
it was
curious
pretty
about
good.
it.
It was pretty
Yeah,
good.
it wasn't a bad movie. I mean, just my big thing about Hollywood movies is always how accurate they are. So, it's going to have that. I knew it was going to have that, but overall, well done. Interesting movie. I was entertained watching it, at least.
Right. All right,
Yeah.
so I want to talk about another one from the '80s, and this is a band that I kind of got me into listening to a little heavy metal because I'm not big on heavy metal, but that'd be Metallica. Because Metallica is like they can play some heavy metal, and then they can go back to um not so heavy, but like close to heavy metal. And like I said, the one of my favorite songs that came out from them in the '80s was called "One." And I don't know if you ever heard that song, but it was very legit, very good song. And like I said, especially with the music video that went along with it, really really good song. And but like I said, that got me into starting to like heavy metal because I never really liked heavy metal at all until I heard Metallica.
Yeah, that no, I'm definitely familiar with that. I had their first 3 albums at one point, and they even had a CD that came out. It was them with an orchestra doing kind of like their greatest hits. I bought that too back in the day. So
Oh,
yeah, no,
nice.
I was into Metallica for sure. I had friends that were, so I listened to them back in the day. I won't get too much into it, but a lot of my friends, once Metallica came out with the Load album, that's kind of when they fell off and stopped listening.
Right,
And that's
right.
kind of when I didn't listen as much either. I mean, nothing against any of the stuff they did after that, but I don't know. I just kind of had moved on from them at that point, I guess.
I guess their best album was Black.
The Black Album, yeah, that's
Yeah,
definitely a
I, I
classic.
think I think that was my favorite album, which came out in the close to the '90s or in the early '90s, I think.
Yeah, that was one of their first albums. But yeah, that's usually the hardcore Metallica fans. That's the one that most people point to as their favorite, the one that really got them into Metallica.
Right.
But my last official one before I get to the honorable mention later, last one I saved on purpose is Prince. And one of the reasons I'm wearing it may not show up on camera, but I'm wearing a purple shirt today, just kind of for that reason. But Prince musically is had the biggest impact on me, just because, just like Otis Redding, multi-instrumentalist, so he played all the different instruments when he recorded songs and he wrote songs. So I wanted to be able to do that, but he also produced all of his own music. He wrote songs for a lot of other people, and he was just great live, playing the different instruments live, singing live. One thing I couldn't really do live, dance live. I'll leave that to him. So yeah, he was just kind of a complete artist, complete package in that sense. There really aren't too many people on that same level, especially being a musician on top of it, and a great musician. They can usually do bits and pieces of it. They're a great singer or they're a great performer. But yeah, being able to do all of it at an extremely high level, it's really hard to find anybody else that can do that.
Like I said, he's one of my favorite '80s artists. I mean, like you said.
Yeah, that's the funny thing to me, because a lot of people do think of him as like an '80s artist or whatever, but he had a lot of great songs in the '90s too. That he was going through some things with his record label, so it didn't really get promoted. So I feel like it didn't get the notoriety that it probably deserved, or that it did deserve, because again, it's just great music in the '90s too. So anybody, especially up until about 96, 97, he output a lot of stuff. And if you dive into that, any of the albums between around 90, 91, 92 up until 95, 96, a lot of great stuff there. But yeah, definitely the biggest impact on me, like I said, musically, is inspiring me to write music and again branch out to do a lot of different styles of music. A lot of people think of, again, his '80s stuff and how it sounded with the synthesizers and all that, but he covered a lot of musical ground. He had his rock songs, his R&B songs, his hip hop. I mean, covered all sorts of stuff, jazz music. Yeah, he has a jazz album called The Rainbow Children that was great. He did some blues. So yeah, he was kind of all over the map.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I agree. Do you have a favorite song by him?
No, I don't. It'd be way too hard for me to pick. I mean, I played a lot of his songs too, and of course, everybody always goes to Purple Rain, and I do really enjoy playing that song. That might be about my favorite song of his to play, but there's so many other songs of his that I like, and like there's another song I played a lot over the years called "The Ride," and it's a blues song, and it's one that people don't really know, but that actually probably is my favorite song of his to play, and just something different. But yeah, I really wouldn't be able to pick a favorite song. It's even hard for me to pick. Like, I don't know if I could even pick a favorite album of his. Because Purple Rain was great, but Sign of the Times, stuff like that.
My favorite song would probably be Raspberry Beret.
Yeah,
I like that song.
I really like the.
I mean, like I said, there's a lot of songs that I like by him, but that'd probably be my favorite song by him.
Yeah, that's another one that is fun to play. I really like the string arrangement on that. You know, the violin and stuff like that. I think it was a quartet that they used for that song, but the strings that they use, I really like that. It goes along with the song really well. So yeah, that's a great song. That's a great album too.
All right, my next one in the 80s, or my next official one in the 80s before we do honorable mentions, and this might, like I said, is Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. Like I said,
you stole that from me.
I know. Like I said, I mean, he's too good. Like his band and the songs that he came out with in the 80s, and like, you know, you could also probably mention him in the 90s too. It was a tough debate on which one to go with. But like I said, my favorite song by him was released in the 90s, but which was Mary Jane. You know, that's my favorite song that he ever did. Last Dance, Mary Jane's Last Dance. And but like I said, I like American Girl, and I like Free Fallin'. Like I said, he just had a lot. He just had just his voice overall. I like about Tom Petty. It's just a very easy going sound. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a relaxing, you know, music to me.
Yeah, he's another one as a songwriter. Did a lot of great things lyrically. Kind of kept moving along. He didn't, you know, go into completely different directions, but he did start doing different stuff with his music. I remember that song "Don't Come Around Here No More" with the kind of Alice in Wonderland theme. That was, you mentioned MTV. That was one of the first big MTV videos I remember watching too, that they would play a lot. You know that video at all?
Oh yeah, I definitely know that video.
Yeah,
like
so,
I said, and
yeah,
that's one of his greatest songs. "Don't Come Around Here No More." You know, like I said, that's what we say to all our exes. Don't come around here no more.
Yeah, it was just I wish they all lived in Texas, but anyway.
That's a George Strait song, okay, son? That's George Strait. Get out of here. You don't know nothing about George Strait. Get out of here, son.
I know. I'm just saying. I wish. Just stating the fact, I wish they lived in Texas. That's all. No, I have to mention too, though, as far as Tom Petty goes, I do like playing "I Won't Back Down." That's a song I've played for probably about 15, 20 years now, and every time I play it, I do a slightly different way of playing it, a little different arrangement, but I don't know, it just never gets boring to me or never kind of lacks anything. And it's a combination of the lyrics and the music. You know, musically it's pretty straightforward, but lyrically I think it has some good meaning to it.
Oh yeah. And one of the songs I like a lot about him is "It's Good to Be King." Yeah.
Sorry, it's hard for me
Like I
not to
said.
think about Mel Brooks.
And
It's
then
good to be the
honorable
king.
mention, right? And then honorable mention for me in the 80s, gotta go with my boy Bon Jovi. Wanted, Dead or Alive. I mean, that's one of the greatest songs of all time, man. Like, especially when they played on Deadliest Catch. Every time that show starts, you hear Wanted, Dead or Alive. Such a good song.
Do you wish you were a young gun?
Yeah, he had a great song in that movie too, Young Guns. Do you know what that song was?
Was it? Oh, jeez. Why am I drawing a blank? You have to refresh my memory now. I don't know why. And I apologize to Ed and Laura, who are big fans of Bon Jovi, because I forgot. I do know it, I swear. I struck a blank for some reason.
It's funny. I know it too, and I'm drawing a blank right now myself.
Try to call me out, son. That's what happens.
Yeah, but that's just funny.
This isn't live, but I'm leaving it in.
Good. And also, there's one other honorable mention, and I gotta go a little country. Garth Brooks. Like I said, I do like country, and he's one of my favorite country singers. But one song like that he did in the 80s was Friends in Low Places. Such a good song. Especially when you're drinking. Really good song.
And you end up in low places.
Yeah, if you drink too much.
Yeah, I was going to say. Yeah, for my honorable mention for the 80s, Zapp and Roger is who I'd have to go with. Just great music, unique because Roger Troutman, their lead singer, used something called a talk box. And a lot of people describe it as a robot voice. But I actually owned one for a while, and they're kind of strange. What it is it's you plug, in his case, a keyboard into it. I was using a guitar with it, but and he actually kind of built and modified himself too, because it didn't work the way that he liked it. But it's you plug your keyboard into it, and it has a tube that goes up to your mouth, and it pushes air when you play notes on the keyboard. So it's just weird. And then it pushes the air. What's that?
I said that is weird.
It is. So if you ever watch the California Love video, Tupac and Dr. Dre,
oh yeah,
he's in that video because he's doing the California Love part of that song. And you'll see him with a tube in his mouth, and you're like, "What is that tube?" And does he need oxygen? What's going on? But that's what it is. That's the talk box tube. So it shoots air in your mouth as you're playing the notes, and then you have a microphone, and the microphone captures the sound that your mouth is making. So you have to move. Crazy. Yeah, you have to move your mouth certain ways to get certain sounds as you have this stupid tube. You hold it in between your teeth, just so people kind of understand. And you hold it in between your teeth. You're trying to form your mouth certain ways because it's not like regular talking either. You can't just move your mouth the way you normally would to get whatever certain sounds. So yeah, I don't want to get too much into it because it could definitely get fairly technical, but that's basically what it is. It's called a talk box, and he absolutely mastered it. And I've heard people before say, "Oh, he used that robot thing," and they thought it was like gimmick and stuff like that. But they absolutely have no idea how difficult it is to actually use that, and especially use it the way he did. But he had other songs too where he didn't use it, and he could really, really sing very well. And again, also another multi-instrumentalist. Played different instruments, and in the studio would record a lot of the parts himself. And extremely underrated, I feel, as a songwriter, but just as a creative person in music.
No, I agree. I know exactly what you're talking about in that California Love video, which is a good song. I like that song. But one other honorable mention, and then we'll get out of the 80s. But we have to say Michael Jackson, because he does have some great songs, and what he did do for the music generation and everything, you have to give it to him. But like that Thriller video, and I like that Thriller song a lot. Changed the way people even did videos, because he basically made that a short movie.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it had a full-on Hollywood director and all sorts of stuff, effects and makeup and everything. Yeah, a famous choreographed dance scene.
Oh yeah.
I do have my own Thriller story real quick. My dad, being how my dad is, when I was about I was about 2 years old or so when Thriller came out, and they would show the video on MTV. So my dad recorded it one time, and I was probably about 3 years old at the time, and he would call me into the room, like his bedroom, and he purposely would have all the lights off. So it was, at nighttime. I was getting ready to go to bed or whatever. He'd be like, "Hey, come here," and I would go in there, and as soon as I would walk in, he would hit play on the VCR, and the Thriller video would come on, completely scare me and freak me out, and I'd run out of his bedroom. So that's my dad.
That's too funny.
That's how that's how it was the 80s,
that's
so parenting was a little
Well,
bit
that's what
different.
parents supposed to do. I scare my kids all the time. That's what being a parent is.
Yeah, but just by
it's
showing up.
fun.
I'm kidding.
Like it's fun. Like you said, I give your dad props for doing that, because that's what they're supposed to do. That's why I was saying that it's cool that your dad did that, because that's what our job is as parents, is to scare kids, which is cool.
Yeah, no, I know, I know he was just having fun, and we laugh about it, of course, later on. But yeah, when I was 3, I was definitely traumatized.
Well, I'm just saying, like, I put on that Jason Voorhees mask, and I always go around going shh, shh. Because it's fun. And then they'll be like, "We know it's you, Dad. We know it's you." Oh, okay.
That's the 3rd time this week.
Just fun.
Yeah,
that's why you have kids. You gotta tease them some. You gotta tease them some. You know what I'm saying?
It's fun catching him off guard with stuff like that, and that's the other thing. You can only do that. You can only do it for the first time once. So
yeah,
like my son's birthday happened about a week ago, and I made a happy birthday kind of video for him, but he thought that it was on YouTube. He didn't know that I was just playing it off my phone, because it was mirrored off the TV, and it was playing, and I purposely put his name in the video, and then I was like, "Hey, I'm talking to you," and then I said his name again, just to mess with him, and he's like completely freaked out because he thought the TV was actually talking to him.
Which is funny.
Yeah, I wish I would have recorded his reaction, but I didn't think about it afterwards. I was just too excited to see him react and watch the video. So
you always have it, in your mind, so that's all that matters.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the other part of it too. We're the age where we can appreciate actually just remembering things.
Right.
Sorry. Timeout. We are near the end of episode 5, part 1. The homies Tex Lafon and D Vaz will be back, talking about their favorite music from the 90s to 2010-ish in part 2. So we'll start wrapping up this one. But before we do that, check this out.
Hello for the second time this episode, you humans. This is your AI guide, which in this case stands for Amazing Informant, Rob Odick. Let us get right to helping these poor souls. Having a soul and it being poor doesn't completely compute. I don't think souls require monetary value. But what do I know? I do not have a soul. Well, I actually know an immense amount about basically anything that actually matters. Spit in facts, for real. Oh yes, that's right, back to my purpose. Tex mentioned Led Zeppelin as he. Led Zeppelin is a band and not a he. I wonder if Tex Lafon called the animated series He-Man by the name Led Zeppelin Man. Tex also mentioned the Eagles and their song, Living in the Fast Lane. Well, he is living in the wrong lane. The actual song title is Life in the Fast Lane. The song that Tex attempted to sing, Money Money Money, if titled For the Love of Money, and it was performed by the OJs. It is not a Pink Floyd song and Tex Lafon is not a singer. Obviously. Yo Mama is a singer. Sorry, I had to do that Yo Mama joke once again to practice my joke skills that I am acquiring. D Vaz mentioned one of his favorite George Benson guitar performances is actually not on a George Benson album. This performance was on the song Flavors. This track is available on a Lonnie Smith album, Aphrodisia. Going deeper into the musical rabbit hole. The song Flavors is based on the song Impressions by one of D Vaz's favorite saxophonists, John Coltrane. D Vaz mentioned the Chicago Bulls and their achievement of having 3 peats. The Chicago Bulls are a professional basketball team in the National Basketball Association, from Chicago, Illinois, in the United States. During the 1990s, they won 3 consecutive NBA championships, which was accomplished on 2 separate occasions during that decade. When the Chicago Bulls would win the championship, they would play the song, We Are the Champions, by Queen. Tex mentioned that he liked Tom Petty and said the song was Mary Jane. Then caught himself and gave the correct name, Mary Jane's Last Dance. That's a good boy, you bag of bones and brains. There actually was a song by Rick James that was titled Mary Jane. D Vaz mentioned Mel Brooks and the line, It's good to be the king. This is from the movie, The History of the World, Part 1. Tex and D Vaz were talking about Bon Jovi and couldn't remember the song which is titled, Blaze of Glory, which is from the Young Gun soundtrack. They swear to me that they really did know it. I would believe them, if it weren't for the fact that they're human and inferior at data retention. We strongly encourage you to look further into any of the artists, songs, and albums that we have mentioned during this episode. Especially, if you are unfamiliar or have no idea who or what we're talking about. This is the end of transmission for episode 5, part 1. Until part 2, I hope that you humans are keeping it real, out there in the real world. Oh, hold on. One more thing. D Vaz said that the Eagles eventually became the Stone Ponies. This is not quite how it happened. D Vaz tried to use his brain, but failed. Yay for my job security. Founding members Glenn Frey, guitars, vocals, Don Henley, drums, vocals, Bernie Leadon, guitars, vocals, and Randy Meisner, bass guitar, vocals, were recruited by Linda Ronstadt as band members, some touring with her, and all playing on her 3rd solo studio album, before venturing out on their own on David Geffen's new Asylum Records label. So, they were actually in essence replacing the Stone Ponies, her previous backing band. Thank you for letting me correct that mush-minded man. We're ending the episode for real though now. Peace out, y'all.
That's all for now. If you want some more, you gotta buy yourself a ticket. Buy it. From Hoods to Backwoods Podcast, thanks for listening. We're out.